I am going to jump right over to Saul. Saul, thanks for joining us. I know you know many folks on here, but for those that don't, give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. Thanks, Christina. My background. I didn't prepare that part. No.
That's okay.
So
Just a
I've
quick off the
been in
cuff.
SaaS for about, I don't know, a decade and a half, primarily B2B. Have done a couple of stints in MarTech. Thank God I'm not in that anymore. Did an EdTech stint. Also happy that I am actually now in cloud tech, which is much more interesting and exciting and different. Moved my family here to Israel about a year ago, and so now live here in Beit Shemesh, which is about an hour south of Tel Aviv, south, I guess, east of Tel Aviv, um, and super excited, to jump in and kind of show kind of like I remember trying to do this kind of stuff 2017, back when I met Craig, when I was at Conductor, and the way we used to do this, and maybe I'll just jump in. So this is what a list looked like, right? Back in the day, I'm sure we all remember it. And you had to then make sense of this and forget about the fact that you're missing stuff like this. So I'd love to put this to the crowd. Like, what did you do in 2017 when you had a list of, I don't know, 7,800 people? It's actually more, we're missing some titles. Oops. That means we have to just throw out all of those, right? So what do you do back in the day? How did you figure out who you wanted to talk to, even if you were, I mean, I remember what we used to do is we used to do like an expert from Marketo and say we're running a campaign and we have to figure out who's still at the company, who, um, what else, who is the right title, because like we get leads from everywhere. People fill out forms on the internet, and God knows, like half the time they're like, I'm like, why did you ask me for this piece of content? Um, so I'd love to just kind of put it to the crowd, like how have you handled this in the past? What would you have done in 2017?
Yeah, we've got lots of LinkedIn research and lots of OSINT splunking. Um, what else, folks? I mean, honestly, there were a lot of people who just like would give this over to their SDRs and are like, good luck, like look it up in Zoom info and like start, doing their own augmentation. So I used to see a lot where marketing would take it as far as they could and then pass the monkey would jump. Yep, SDR spray and pray, another one. Just drop them into a sequence anyway. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Incomplete
Um,
information. If we had the email, we would just try it anyway.
it's
They're
funny you
good
should mention Zoom
examples.
Info, but before they acquired DiscoverOrg, I remember getting on a call with DiscoverOrg, and they said, "Oh, you report to this and this person," and that was their whole spiel. Was like, we have the org charts. That person had left 6 months prior.
Yeah.
I didn't buy their product. So another example of like the data was always stale because at best it depended on the scraper, and so we all know the pain, I think, of kind of back in the day. I'll tell you what our secret was, because at the time I wouldn't have told you, because it was I don't want to
It was
blow
your
it up,
secret
and
sauce. Yeah.
it was our secret
It was
sauce.
your competitive
Exactly.
advantage.
Back in the day, I had a research team of people in the Philippines who got between $4 and $8 an hour, and I would send them a list of 8,000 contacts, and they would split it up between 10 people. And 800, you can get through 800 contacts in, I don't know, 2 3 days, if that's all you do for 10 hours a day. You might not be so happy with yourself, but I mean, it's what it is. But that's what it took. And then on top of that, you still then had to, and that was just to get the data clean, right? We're not even getting into um, like trying to understand the data. And that's where it's SDR spray and pray. It's like we had this wonky formula, but you can find it. Hang on. This is a fun one here. Actually, a better idea. Let me jump into spreadsheets. This was how we used to like figure out if the title was right. We used to do, um, is it that? No. We used to have a formula. I didn't prepare this part because I didn't remember this. We used to literally have a formula that would look for keywords in the title. And so I could create a list of keywords and say, oh, I want to know if you have SEO in your title, content, whatever, potato, doesn't matter. And then it would just literally look for those words. And if that word was there,
Yeah.
great, but there was zero intelligence.
Yeah. Well, let me just ask you because I mean, by the way, you're triggering some PTSD for me, which I mean, it was a wild west. We were all trying to find these offshore teams to augment and give us slightly better coverage or data than we had before. Also, people were buying multiple data vendors to try and find the best possible overlap of a database. But so like fast forward today, and by the way, some comments are like circa 2023, it's still the same. I mean, so here we are in mid 2025. I am curious because we hear of a lot of folks using clay, but what drove you to start looking at and considering clay as a solution to this problem?
I think it probably popped up on LinkedIn or something, and
Mhm.
I kicked the tires and messed around with it.
Sure.
And like, if I go back and I look in, I don't know, my personal clay account, which I probably had a work one slightly prior to having a pro. We can go look at kind of the basic embarrassing kind of stuff that you were doing, and you also have to realize like, and kudos to Clay, they've actually recently pushed a new update, but they've evolved tremendously over the last year, right? You know, their new
Yeah.
update actually makes it super easy because it does a really good job at figuring out what you want to do as a next step.
Yeah.
um, and it used to be there's 200 enrichments, and like you were like, oh, can I do this? Do they have an enrichment for
Yeah.
this? You know, I'm
You,
trying to find the right one. Do I write enrich company or
totally.
enrich,
I mean, on that note,
organization?
yeah, you're starting to talk about it. Let's jump in. Like let's pull up, what you want to show us, because I'm sure there are some folks here who have seen clay and used it, some who've just heard about it, some who maybe have not heard about it. So like let's start walking through. So today we also have Zach, are you on? Zach Reese Davis.
Trying to unmute. There we go.
Okay,
Yep,
there we
I'm in the
go.
room at Empire
So
State. I'm also on my computer too, but
yeah, no
simplest
worries, no
audio.
worries. But Zach has volunteered as tribute. Kudos to Randy for putting it that way. I love that. Has volunteered as tribute to be sort of our guinea pig as Saul walks through his process for generating and enriching these lists in a better way with signals in mind. And so, Saul, take us through that. And I know you've got some prep from Zach, but walk us through
Yes,
the
and
example here.
thank you, Zach and Team Dusty. So the way we'll do this is the first thing we'll do is generate the list. Then we'll go and generate the prompt that we'll use to go from just, hey, I have 8,000 people, even though today a lot of those problems are solved. We don't have to figure out if they still work there. Probably do. It's not 100%, but it's a lot better than it was in 2023. Fine. But the idea is that we'll generate the list, and then we'll develop that prompt together, and then we'll put that prompt back in, and we'll see kind of the output, and we'll see the magic. Um, I will preface this by saying, like, you know how AI works. Um, It'll give us some output. We may not have the time to like go through all the iterations to get it to exactly where we want, but we'll definitely start that path and get to a place where it's like we can see that end goal if we don't get to the end goal,
Yeah,
but we'll try.
that's great.
Cool. So let's build a list. So Zach and team were kind enough to send over their detailed persona. And so we're going to start just with simply find people. And we got to start from let's see. I'm looking if Zach, oh, here we go. No, there are tools. So try, is there any consideration from a company size or industry perspective?
Sure.
Um,
Let's definitely go yes on industry, and let's literally just say construction here.
yeah. Building construction, we can do all of them.
Well,
I had
yeah,
done
there's
all of
multiple. There's
those.
building
Yeah.
construction, non-residential building construction. Let's just do those three.
Cool.
The non-residential one.
Yeah. It's kind of a pain. You can't select multiple at the same time, I think, unless you change that. They may have fixed it. Are there any industries we want to exclude that are kind of like we don't want? Probably is only including these, but so I guess we can skip that
If
part.
it's
Company
only
size.
including these, it'll be fine. If we want to exclude, we could exclude like tech companies, which sometimes like construction, like companies like us selling to the construction industry sometimes end in these types of lists.
Uh, Okay, we can do that. We can say
I'm fine not,
technology.
so.
It's
Like, exclude
come on.
software. Let's see what
Command
happens
A
if we
doesn't
do
work
that.
either.
How about we just exclude software?
Software. I keep trying to press Command A to delete, and it's not behaving. All right, we'll do that. Okay, company sizes. Any strong feelings there, or
Let's
is it
say
just
50 and more.
let's do it? All right. So, and is there anything specific? I know you mentioned like drywall. Like, are there any
Let's say
specific like
drywall and framing on the company level.
drywall? You gotta press enter. It doesn't do tab. All right. Now I've got your list that Zach sent earlier, and so we're gonna put these job titles in. So we have super and
You know, Clay
And
lets you
probably
like
any of
paste them
those for
in.
the record. You
Oh,
can't paste in a list here?
we can try, but I don't think it's gonna work. My experience, if I remember correctly, when you paste it in, it just it doesn't
yeah.
separate them,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
I
Okay.
don't
Okay.
think comma separating is gonna work. But let's give it a shot.
Like you have to paste individual and then hit enter.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do it that way. And then any strong feelings while we do this, Zach and Dusty team on seniority or function or anything like that?
Probably if we do the job title part first, it'll get us most of what we want on the seniority level, so we can probably skip it. And a lot of these titles, like, it's going to depend on how their filters tends to do this. So like if you type the word superintendent back in there for a second, this is where I don't understand this platform well enough, which is why I was excited to be on the hot seat. Just type it in. One of the things you'll see here is you see a lot of different options. They're all relevant to us. I don't know if just superintendent includes all the other words that are related.
I was going to ask the same. If
Yeah,
you
I mean,
typed in super, would it get superintendent with an A and with an E and everything else? Because like we look at like machine learning, right? So if I type in or data science and data scientist, so I was curious if you can you do stems and have it find everything that contains that title?
we have to try it. The play is sometimes and sometimes it's or, super confusing. And so there are times when I'll run that list multiple times because like I want to do different factors further down, which are all not, they're all and. So it's like I don't need you to have a specific location or whatever, and also a specific certification and also a specific word in your bio. So I'll search for your word in your bio and then I'll search again for the certification. So I get the max list. On the title level, like what I'm doing here, just because I know this is going to be the thing, is like I'm breaking them up because I know each one. I know I definitely want each one to be kind of separate, right? So I'm going to just edit these. As far as like if it's a catch-all, we can certainly try. I mean, we see it's giving us kind of a preview, so we know we've only got 15 results, and we can try instruction superintendent. Where was that?
It's at the
Easier to
top.
type superintendent.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was at the
construction
top.
manager. I think it's
It
a
was
construction manager, but whatever.
it was
Super
third from
in.
the top, right there.
There
Third.
you go.
There you go.
So, and now we have less. So no, we have more. So yeah, if you adding in more is going to be better. We just tried it and we saw. Trying to get that out of there. So we have superintendent. We did project executive, project director. And then we've got regional manager. If anyone's got any questions, this part is like, just not that complicated. So I'm happy to continue to.
I have a question.
Yeah, go
If
ahead.
if let's say you remove all the job titles and just put seniority as C-suite, does it pull every C-suite and its
It
titles?
does. It does pull a broader set. So why don't we give it a shot at the end because I'm not deleting all of this. I'm sorry. But we can always spin up another table and we can experiment with some other stuff. The thing that's fun about this part is it's not that it's pretty it's all free. So like this is all just, yes, it's time, but it's not like we're not burning any credits. So we can try all different versions of this. And I guess I can also show you we can do a separate search afterwards where it's the same enrichment. I'll show you what I mean, and then we can append more to the list, if that makes sense. But I will show you exactly what I mean
Hey,
shortly.
Saul, a quick
Yeah.
question for you in the chat, which is a good one. And actually this question's for anyone on the call who might know. But Katie had a good question, which is like, how is this different than say Zoom Info, the list building side of it? There's certainly an enrichment side of it that we're going to go through in a bit that is unique, but how is this different from a Zoom Info experience?
So I have a personal issue with Zoom Info, so I haven't bought or used them since 2020.
Okay. Maybe
but-
anyone else?
Interestingly enough.
What's that?
Oh, Dusty's also having issues with Zoom Info right now, but the UX is very similar for this part.
Yeah, I mean, it's list building. I guess, look, there's a waterfall behind this and it's going to go through multiple, vendors on the back end. I guess that's just keep trying to figure out what makes this, like, is this data actually better?
Katie, just one thing, because we're actually in the process of hoping to get Clay very soon, and we have Zoom Info. From what we understand, Clay can actually pull in Zoom Info in addition to other sources.
Right.
And then the real power for us, which I think we'll see, is the way you can enrich in the enrichment and the customizable, like Zoom Info.
Once you build the
There's
list.
no enrich. It is what it is.
Right.
But we're looking to get really, really nuanced enrichment, and
Yeah.
that's what the primary reason. But we're actually planning on using some of our Zoom Info credits when we use Clay, but then also seeing what else we can find that's not in Zoom Info.
Got it.
I would also just add, so my understanding is this is, I think, straight out of LinkedIn. I think they have some sort of partnership, and that's my understanding. I haven't looked recently, and so this is Clay. What we're talking about with Zoom Info, that's a whole separate workflow. That would be you would be doing that from a table. You wouldn't be doing that this way. I don't have an integration with like an Apollo, and I don't know if Clay has a Zoom Info integration. They may have an API, webhook, something, but it's probably going to be a little shitty. Just fair warning, because like anything that's not kind of built, like in the actual integration, is to make sure throughout, I don't know, demo process or whatever, that you're very certain that the Zoom Info webhook is going to do what you want, how you want it, and I just
a quick question from Tamar in the
that'd be
chat,
totally
which
way
is
off. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Which is, are you using Clay as your main source of data?
So again, right, we use Clay a lot also for enrichment. It is like for list building, yes, we do have Zoom Info. I didn't bother trying to figure out the exports or whatever, because I haven't seen that where the team brought me a Zoom Info list and it was like, oh, this is different, better, more accurate.
Okay.
And you can also see within Clay. So even if this is slightly stale, I'll show you there's an enriched person enrichment, which we'll need to do, which then gives us the latest, and we can run a formula that compares two fields, and we'll get to it. I want to mention some other things that maybe are super relevant for us when we're doing this, like experience description, keywords, months and current roles. Sometimes if someone's less than 6 months, like there's no point, so that can be handy. I added location filters already. There are both inclusion and exclusion. It's kind of nice. There are location filters, and then same idea. Like there's there's profile, headline, about. So you can look for specific keywords relevant to your business in any one of these places, and that further expands the list. But like I was saying before, each one of these is and at this point. So on the title, it was an or we saw. over here it's an and. So if we start putting in multiple things, it's going to reduce
Wait.
instead of, expand or help us,
Yeah.
find more of the right people. And then
Can
this
you-
is a
I'm
fun,
sorry.
go ahead.
Can you explain the difference of where you were saying there was a transition from the and to the or vice versa?
So it's immediately after title. At this point, like if we put instruction here, well, I have to spell it right to start. So we put construction, and now we're at 71 because there's only 71 people who have that. And now if we went a step further and we said they also should have, I don't know, AWS, whatever, like it's looking for both of those things, not
Okay.
both. It's looking for both those things together, not separate.
Okay.
I didn't expect any construction people to have AWS certifications.
Thank you.
All right, let's
Cool.
see, lead construction. So this is looking at their certifications on LinkedIn. I don't think I can probably just copy paste, make everyone's life easier. And also I'm just going to do that because I'm getting bored of my typos. Lead construction.
I think a lot of folks
LICPC.
are getting excited about seeing the enrichment too. So if we want to,
Yeah,
go with the
so-
list that you have.
Yeah,
So I think we're going to stick
it
with those
doesn't
we
matter.
have.
We can add the rest of it later ourselves.
Yeah, and I would say with the certification keywords, that's one of those where you run each one separately and you don't have the prior stuff and you only look for that certification because they're probably, in your thing, in our world, it's like if you have a FinUp certification, that not that concerned as to everything else. So that's again a way for me to find the other people who are adjacent or related, but maybe don't have the exact title I'm looking for. All right, let's rock and roll. So now we're just going to hit continue. We're going to import to a new table. And so this is a workbook we created for this. We're just going to start with, we'll start with the basic profile, even though we are going to get the fully enriched profile, but I don't want to skip that step. So we're just going to theme it for free. And here we go, 2,100 rows. And here's where the magic starts, right? And so we do need to enrich a person. Like I said, they got much better at this in a recent update, probably last couple of weeks, where I can now just do it this way. I have everyone's LinkedIn profiles. I don't have to worry about that. And I can just run it. And I do want to, though, maybe double check this data. So yeah, it's fine. We don't need to do that. But if we want, we can always double check that data and make sure, because we're pulling this data, I guess, from a different source. Again, I haven't paid that much attention to exactly the sources and that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Well,
Tristan.
while that's running, we have a quick question. Go ahead, Catherine.
I was just going to ask, we were talking about ZoomInfo and how people were experiencing issues with it, but I guess my question is why would anybody stay with ZoomInfo? If you are using Clay and you are keeping your ZoomInfo very expensive subscription, why would you keep it? I'm genuinely curious.
Maybe people like the Copilot feature.
Or like the intent signals, perhaps?
Yeah, anybody else using ZoomInfo that's like a fan that feels like, one thing that we've seen is like if there's any sort of proprietary analysis or interpretation of data, Clay can pull from what it's attached to or, what you've hooked it into or what's publicly available. So if it's not hooked into certain places, you may not have certain data. But anybody else have?
Yeah, Dusty's an unhappy ZoomInfo customer, to be really clear. But the one feature they do have that Clay doesn't is they are much better at integrations with the ad networks, LinkedIn, Meta for ad targeting, and to not consume credits to do ad targeting across platform.
Got it.
That's
That's
helpful.
interesting.
I use ZoomInfo as well. I think to your point, it kind of doesn't make sense to have both, but on my end with my industry, ZoomInfo sometimes doesn't give accurate annual revenue on my end that I make decisions based on annual revenue. So instead of wasting credits on Clay, so I go through ZoomInfo or even use a connection of ZoomInfo in Clay to pull from ZoomInfo first before using credits on Clay. But it is expensive in the end when
That's
you
a
have
good one.
two tools. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's a
I
great
think
one.
the thing about Clay that I find, it's like, for example, they have the Apollo thing, and if I had an Apollo subscription, this indicates, by the way, the key indicates that it's not credit based, but I can then pull data from Apollo. I know Apollo's data sucks. That's not my point. Point is, you've got all of these options, right? Wiz is another lead one that's $50 a month, not 4,000, $400 a month or whatever ZoomInfo is. I think it's 4,000 per user around. Probably different for everybody because that's their game. But anyway, so you've got all of these, and these are the ones that are like out of the box kind of configured. And then obviously, like we mentioned, you can use their API connection as well to kind of, this is a little more custom. Again, I haven't used it a ton, so if it works for you, great. And I'd be curious though, Dusty team, Zach, if when you guys have you tried using HubSpot or something else in that targeting, kind of layer? Factors and another, comes to mind that they're kind of in that game. Just again, like $400, $500 per month for total, and not 20,000, which is kind of, I think, where ZoomInfo starts
We're
around.
going to end up going that direction. Right now, we're under contract with ZoomInfo and just figuring out how to use the remaining credits and add Clay because we're frustrated with them. So it hasn't been a thing we've had to do yet.
Yeah, so I
Gotcha.
should clarify our main ZoomInfo is quote fine for just pulling broad lists. Like there's an argument like once you kind of do all the mass uploads, you run out of, you've done them all and they're all in your CRM somewhere. So our frustration with ZoomInfo is actually more on some of the additional capabilities we felt like they sold us a bill of goods on, and the way it was handled. And on top of that, we feel like we've done the vast majority of ZoomInfo pulls, but those contacts would probably keep our sales team busy for a few years, and they're not like terribly outdated. It's really the Clay's capabilities to augment the data in ways that like ZoomInfo can't even touch. I think what we're going to go into now, the nuanced ways, that's really what's driving the adoption. I mean, it's not even, it's like not even apples to oranges. It's like apples to croissants or something, I don't know.
Yeah, apples to outer space. No, I got you. It's completely unrelated. It makes sense. So our enrichment is running. It's, it doesn't find everybody all the time, but that's okay. And so now we're going to switch gears to develop the prompt that we need to use to get AI, because I don't want to try to figure this prompt out on my own from scratch. So I'm going to take a version of this prompt that I've already developed. I'm going to drop it into ChatGPT, and then I'm going to drop in the info I got from the Dusty team, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to make that prompt for me. So, and I don't bother spell checking with ChatGPT, so please ignore, my I don't know, whatever. I promise I know how to read and write. Here's a prompt. Generic. I need it adjusted, and maybe. I always love when I switch to Hebrew and then I continue typing, and it's like I don't understand any of that. I'm like, you should be able to switch characters and redo it. You're smarter than me, but it doesn't know how to do that. So, pro tip: if you switch languages, you have to redo the whole thing. Around adjusted criteria, a different for a specific company. Below is a prompt. If anyone has any super cool prompt tricks to make this better, faster, I am all ears.
Yeah, I think, we've seen a lot of really cool folks. By the way, first of all, kudos to you, Saul. It's really hard to sit here and type while everyone's watching. So I love that you have the existing prompt. And folks, we can share that prompt with you after. But I think anytime you're doing this, like once you've created that prompt asking ChatGPT or whichever LLM to help you improve it for clarity? Like, what else do you need to know to make this better,
Yeah,
clearer, more
so
instructive? Is really helpful. But I think even just starting with this one is great.
The other
I
thing
found, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add, I think one of the other things, like Christine, I love that. And I think it's like added into every prompt. The other thing is, tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what's in my blind spot. What is another perspective that would uncover an insight? That is like magic.
Those are really great. I found this to really be game changing. And so basically you tell the LLM to only go step by step and not to chain steps together, because when it chains steps together and it makes a mistake on step 4, everything from step 4 and onwards is garbage.
Love that.
And so this way it's like it just double checks. It does get frustrating because like we'll see how this one goes,
Yep.
but sometimes it'll just ask you, every single thing. And you'll just be like, I gave you all this info. Like,
Yeah.
if
Well,
I gave it to
while
you
that,
and it's explicit, you should know. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, while that's running, give us like, let's take one step back. So we've got our list in Clay and we were starting to enrich. What is this prompt for? Help us understand what's running right now.
Yeah, so we're trying to develop a prompt because the next need direct terms list. I don't know what you mean. Sorry, I don't know. Oh, I know what I think I figured it out. Direct terms. Here we go. Oh, we didn't have direct terms. We only have related. Okay, I'll get back to that. What we want to do is we want to be able to ask the LLM to review. And what we're going to review actually is pretty cool. It's all of this, right? So we pulled all of this data from the enriched person enrichment, and now we have all of this information about this person and every job they've had and all the stuff they've done, where they work now, and what certifications they have, if they have any. And so
Yep.
our goal now is to ask the LM to review all this and then come back to us and say, is this a person a fit? Yes or no? If they are a fit, why do we believe they're a fit? And so we're trying to get to this place where we can take a list of, I don't know, 2,500 rows or 2,000 rows and get rid of, the 500 or 600 or maybe 1,000 that are completely irrelevant. And now we can just come to our SDR team and say, these should all be good. Now you only have to use, your human brain for figuring out maybe the approach or the message or whatever it is your human SDRs are doing. If you have any, we have to talk about AI eating, entry-level jobs, but that's the idea.
Okay, so to summarize, it's kind of like being able to do that bulk, detailed, meaningful research, not just to prepare the message, but to sort of qualify if the person meaningfully is in our sweet spot. Because we all know, like ICP to whittle down to accounts and then like personas to whittle down further, like it actually requires still a lot of manual minutia for the rep to answer the question, is this somebody I should pursue and spend time on? And if so, where's the evidence of that? And you're using this process to do that.
Exactly. And then again, even if I give them 1,000, or 500 these are a good fit, we'll also see the LM is going to tell us how confident it is. So we can say, oh, high confidence, even better, whatever. But bottom line is we're not looking at 2,000 contacts where a bunch of them are irrelevant and our team is sitting there being like, oh, I hate these fucking DG people. They just, they suck. Who made this list? Mops, we need better operations people. Instead they're just, being a lot more productive. Responsibility area. Hang on, let's see. I'm just gonna tell it to skip what we don't have because we gotta get through this. I do have a hard stop.
Yeah, I think we'd all love to see what this looks like back in Clay. So this will push back to Clay. And while this is working, tell us what it looks like. Tell us what it actually gives us. Does it give us a summary?
It's gonna give us a yes, no, like does this person fit? Skip it. Skip any missing data I've shared. All the data I have. When we get to next I'll pop that in. But yeah, it's going to give us a yes, no. Does this person have that responsibility? And then if yes, why does it think that person has that responsibility? So it'll give us a very short proof, which again, we can give to our BD team, because we'll see Clay, the LM is going to give us a much more output than we want to look at. Here we go. I didn't even have to go there. Figure it out. And then so it'll give us a short proof. And then obviously there's a lot more there, under the hood that we probably are going to ignore. All right. Let's try that. So now we're going to use AI. Another just fun side note, templates are great. You can create your own templates. They have a bunch in here. Like I've got a template that's like, I have a first name, last name, and title and email because we were at a conference. Go find me the people's LinkedIn, right? I don't want to, deal with that. It's really pain in the neck. And here.
And so just to narrate for us what you're doing. So like, you're back in Clay, you're using the use AI function and you're pasting in that prompt and then connecting it to the information that's in that other column in Clay.
Correct. And so I'm telling it to review all of the data in here, and then I'm telling it to run through the steps. I'm just going to copy this. I want it. This actually, I found this generate button where it's going to take our prompt and make it appropriately. I found it to be pretty good, so I'm going to give it another, try to make it work better, right? And once that's done, we will hit the model. Obviously, which model you use is a big difference. Normally, what I would do is when I had more time, I would start with the cheaper model, and then whatever it doesn't find with the cheaper model or doesn't give me an answer for or is not confident about, I will say, here's now use a more expensive model. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to use like a middle of the road model because let's see. We'll see.
Yeah, for folks
we'll see
here
what
who may not be as necessarily sophisticated on the models yet, like, I mean, can they just use a ChatGPT 4.0? Do they have to use 3.0? Like, give us like the cheat sheet version of what they can
so
use.
I mean, Clay's got some of their own proprietary models. They're pretty good. They claim it's better than GPT 4.0. Maybe I use GPT. I think the reasoning models are the best. But again, if you want to do the start lower and build it up, you can use any one of these models. You can also the GPT models, for example, as well as the Claude models. Both of those you can use via your own API. So if you've got, your corporate deal or whatever, your API credits are probably or might be cheaper than Clay tokens.
Sure.
So that's another,
I can't wait to see what this looks like.
So
I don't know if anyone else on here has tried this, but I can't wait to see what this looks
so
like.
I'm going to save, and we're just going to run 10 rows because we never want to start with running, all our rows because that's bad. And then I'm also going to turn off auto update, because if you keep it on, it doesn't like something. Why is it sad? I know what happened. I didn't change it from my personal key, and I don't have the credits or stuff on my personal account. All right.
Okay.
So now it's running. I don't know why if you always turn off auto updates, because if I change something here, it will then run everything downstream and it'll burn a bunch of credits. I blew 80,000 credits this month that way. So pro tip, don't blow 80,000 credits. Not a good use of credits.
Quick question for you in chat from Jonathan. Do you recommend organizing the prompt in ChatGPT before submitting it, or is it just as effective to dump your ideas as they come here? Will they yield? Will either method yield the same results?
No, I mean, it's something that you probably want to play with. Honestly, like not something I've played with a ton. I'd say the prompt sculpting or screwing around with the prompt becomes necessary when you're worried about, for example, like you may in your prompt get a result. Like you may want someone's LinkedIn and it'll give you a whole, soliloquy. It'll be like, I know
Okay.
Christina McMillan's LinkedIn is Christina's LinkedIn because I went to the website, I found Christina, and her first name was Priya. And I'm like, I just want the fucking link, right? So then I'll be
Sure.
like, Joe's give me the link, and I'll be like, this is the output I want. Things like that are adjustments I made, but I haven't experimented much beyond. Like once you get the prompt to work, you just you save it as a template,
Got
and
it.
it'll make your life way easier. And you'll obviously, for your business, you can adjust and edit, and it'll get there eventually. But
Yeah, got it. That's awesome.
no,
While
it's
that's
not a custom
running,
GPT, John. It was,
okay,
sorry, I'm just
great.
answering the question in the chat. It was straight up. I think I used 3.0, and then I also used this, and I'll drop it in the chat, this tip I got from the fabulous Neuron newsletter, that forces the AI to go in order and to confirm assumptions and not make bad assumptions.
I love that.
It's
I love that.
better
Forcing it
for
to
some things.
follow
Like,
the steps. Yeah, that's
I
great.
use it, for example, to put together our paid year-to-date review. So I was like, here's
Okay.
all my data. I've run a bunch of analysis in spreadsheets, and I want to. This is the kind of story I want to tell. And yes, I had to answer 50
Yeah,
questions probably, but the end result was pretty much usable. Like I didn't have
yeah,
to say like, oh, I want it to be longer. I want it to be shorter. I want it to be, something different. I was just
sure.
good to go.
Well, quick time check. We have like 11 minutes left. I don't know how long this is going to take to run, but do you
It
have another
should
example
be
where
any
you can
second.
show us? Okay. Or
Yes,
maybe
I
you can
could
show us
show
another
another example.
example
Yes,
just so
I'll
that we
show
can
another
see what the
example
finished
of,
product looks like. Because I think that was
yeah.
incredibly cool to be able to, again, do that research in bulk to be able to equip your SDRs to just go to the next point, or your reps. I think it's really powerful to be able to do that.
So I don't like this example. Let me find a different one. I have
Okay.
better ones. Action check that one, and also sometimes you need to reload the table, so we'll do that too. Let's see. Oh, GTM AI lab. That's us. I think this is the example we played with last time when we kind of prepped. Here we go.
Okay, cool.
So this is again not exactly the version I want, because if you remember last time we spoke, the model was misbehaving. Let's try that. I'm sure I did that. Yes, I have there's a lot of stuff in here. That's not it. Maybe here. No.
While
I'll
you're
find
finding that,
something. Yeah.
for everyone else who's also
Oh, we're
using
done.
Clay,
We don't
like,
have to find it.
oh,
Here you go.
oh, great. Okay, great.
So now we've got, this is the output, right? We got the reasoning, and the reasoning is going to give us a whole story, right? But we also asked it to give us all of these other things, right? So explicit automated layout, yes or no? No. But we add that as a column, and now we'll see if it's true across, and then here's our proof.
So
We can
any of
obviously,
these you can extract out as a column to make it more scannable, easier to digest the information.
exactly. And so it's saying that
Oh, that's cool.
Tessa Lau is the CEO and founder of Dusty Robotics, and you guys are a target of yourself. So obviously we're not crushing it. We have to adjust and figure out how to your point, Zach, exclude tech. Here, let's look at this one if that one's better. No, you nailed it. You said this would be an issue. So we are definitely struggling with that idea of making sure we're not we're not going after our competitors. Let's just
The
for the fun
Does
of it, because
drywall person we could look at row 10 at least is in the right ICP.
cool. So the reason why it doesn't like this is because I'm specifically asking about automated layout ownership or direct involvement with layout technology, and it's saying that it doesn't match. Now, if these, for example, were things that are indicative of that, what we could simply do is we can say something like this. Here, let's do this. Pop that in here. Let's grab our latest prompt because we did mess with it. And just for fun, I'm just going to see if we can adjust the prompt to see if we can get it to say that that is the right guy. Even if he's not, I just want to kind of show kind of like some of the well, the first time you're figuring the prompt out, sometimes you will run into these kind of issues, obviously. And so
Sure.
here's the prompt. That even ChatGPT won't understand that. And then the
Christina,
While
do we
you're
want to
adjusting
just
that,
save the last
yeah,
10 minutes for questions?
yeah, I was going to say while you're
Yeah.
adjusting that,
Yeah.
we've got folks on here who are using Clay. We got folks who are like Clay curious. Like, what kinds of questions do you guys have for this very rich like group of folks who have a mix of experience? What kind of questions? Feel free to just come off mute. You don't have to put it into the chat. Anton, Clay curious, you and your younger daughter. That's fantastic, actually. That was a
So,
dad joke if I've ever heard one.
Oh yeah, I've got them for
Go
days.
ahead.
If we need to fill time. So I'd be curious. You look at this, interesting to enrich. Are you the kind of the owner operator of Clay? How are you delineating responsibility and who is using it within your org?
So we're a tiny startup, tiny-ish, about 70 people. So not that tiny, but
Yeah, so like similar
our
to
GTM
HP.
team is
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I said so very similar to Hewlett Packard Enterprise. We have 86,000 people
Right.
across the Slack channel. Yeah.
And so I am the one who owns it, but probably technically there should be someone else, but you know how it goes, many hats,
Yeah, totally.
startup. And so I would love if this I think what we're seeing in the industry right in general is like the GTM engineer role. And that person would be the one who owns this, and that person, again, you can pull what you want. Someone at ops, marketing ops, sales ops, GTM engineer, ops, should kind of be the one who's figuring out stuff like, and I'll show you, well, whatever. I
Yeah.
think we got the idea. I'll show you a different cool, example of like something I would love if there was someone who just thought about this stuff.
Katie, you
Here
had a question?
is,
Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, my question, I guess, is I just feel like all GTM teams struggle to get accurate data and good lists, right, to target. And what I'm seeing is one thing that makes Clay unique is that we can really refine our list and enrich in very, very specific ways, which is powerful. But I guess my question is like, are we going to end up with a more accurate list? Are we going to end up with people who are actually still at the companies that are represented on this list? And if so, like how? Is it the LinkedIn verification? Like what makes this better?
so I found to be to be more accurate. I haven't found that to be an issue of like we're pulling someone and they're totally not there, especially when we're running through this kind of additional layers of enrichment, because like the part of the prompt is like going, like we can see the steps it takes, right? It shows us that. And so
Yeah, it shares
come
its
on.
reasoning.
So, it searched Google and it looked up who Tammy is, and it visited the web page. And so it did all of these things. So if this
Yeah.
was incorrect, at some point it would have been like, no, that this is wrong, right? You'd imagine.
Okay.
I would hope.
And
Cool.
so, right,
Just go ahead.
it's flexible enough too, where if you wanted to add an additional reasoning step where you have a different model evaluate the reasoning documented by the first model, the model that's doing this enrichment activity that you've asked it to do, and evaluate, is this good reasoning? Has this model arrived at the right result? Has it not arrived at the right result? You can do that. It's sort of like infinitely malleable and composable the way that you want it to be. So you can have as arbitrarily many columns with arbitrarily many models evaluating one another to make sure that the final information that you're handing off to your SDR team is as accurate as it can possibly be.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think any of these can guarantee they'll deliver 100%, but what I love about this approach is it's, if we were to apply a human with unlimited time to look in all the places
Yeah.
and try to do all of the analysis and insights possible to give us this information, we just accelerate that and batch that. And that can be very powerful. Now, different organizations are looking in different ways as well. Like this is not just about, I think, finding the perfect contact information or all of that, but sometimes it's about the finding that one nuance of that one special qualifying criteria thing that helps us figure out if this really is a potential prospect for us or not. And so I find for that one special snowflake type of criteria thing that every company has, sometimes they have multiples, Clay can be really, really great about tailoring to those types of signals, which is really powerful. Now, I did want to make sure. Oh, go ahead.
I do want to very briefly, this is your event marketer and team will be very excited if you bring this back to them. So we were in Barcelona, never been there, didn't know where to go, where to start. Had to figure it out. I've never been to Barcelona. I grabbed a list of restaurants from like Time Out or some whatever website. I needed to find their domains. That was the first step. Once I had the domain, I needed the address. And then I asked AI to evaluate the location and tell me, is it appropriate and how much is it going to cost me, et cetera, and give me like menu, recommendations or whatever. But then I also wanted to make sure how far was it from the venue we were at. So I had the hotel address, and then I had the restaurant address, and using this free map box, I guess they're like giving away their shit. They give like 100,000 free credits. You don't have to do anything, just sign up for their API and connect it to Clay. I was able to both find the walking or the driving distance between the addresses, and meters, and all of this takes, I don't know, a couple of hours for 100 restaurants. So just in different ways. So that's what I was getting at. You have your Clay GTM engineer or whatever, that this is the kind of things I would expect them to figure out beyond, like, yes, list enrichment also great. We asked if it's accurate. So it's, we can look at why it thinks yes or no, and how it came to these results. But it's saying, yeah, not kind of, it looks like. So that was to Mark's point. I do have to jump. I do have another call. I appreciate everyone.
Yeah,
thanks so much for.
Thanks, Saul. Appreciate you sharing this. And I know we still have a lot of questions from folks on Clay. So like we will likely be doing other examples of Clay and trying to dig in more into some of the questions people have, particularly some of the getting started questions around the level of resources that it might take. What kind of experience or expertise on your team do you need to have to do that? So I just want to thank us all again. I know you have to run. Thank you again for sharing that.
Thank you, Saul.
Thank you, Zach, for being
Oh,
our
there
guinea
is
pig, Zach,
Jen, by
and
the
the
way,
rest
I
of the
just saw
Dutzy
the
team.
Jen's question in the chat, and I can't leave a question unanswered. There's a really cool integration, and so you could upsert or insert from Clay either into Salesforce directly, into Google Sheets, to HubSpot. The world's your oyster. So you have options to just push that data directly. Right.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thanks, Saul.
Thank you, Saul.